Good evening, everybody. My name is Yonatan Zamir. I am, I guess I'm technically the vice chairman of this commission, Woodbridge Town Planning and Zoning Commission, and this is a regular meeting, Monday, April 3rd, 2023, of our Town Planning and Zoning Commission. I've got members with me, Kathy Hunter, Andrew Skolnick, Jeff Kennedy, and Aaron Hoffman. Our chairman is out tonight, but we have a quorum, so we are going to proceed with the business that is on the agenda. Looks like the first thing we have, and of course, Chris Sullivan is the MC of the show, so we also have Shadi Nujaim. Am I saying your last name right? Nujaim. Also joining us. Should I go ahead just with the, what do we have, the work session? What's on the agenda?
Straight into the work session.
Straight into the work
We have
session.
No new applications.
No new applications, and we're just, I guess the application, we're just acknowledging the application's been received for the Luciani properties.
Well, that
Are we
was
doing?
received last month, and at that point, you had scheduled it for a hearing in May to allow adequate time for your
Okay.
consultant to review.
Okay, then I guess the actual item on the agenda, we have correspondence received. In the packet that we all received is a letter from the Woodbridge Chief of Police, Frank Capiello, regarding the traffic and parking concerns on Manila and Merritt Avenues. I just saw that.
Could I inquire, Mr. Chairman, we also had some minutes to approve that I don't see on the agenda.
It's true.
Oh, they're
it
down at the
says
bottom.
Yeah. Sorry. Yep. at the
Other
bottom.
business, okay, I'll defer.
Do we want to, I'm just looking at this letter now. Everybody see this letter, March 27th, 2023? Okay. I assume this letter's on our website, so public can see it.
I had to put it on, but I can't.
I think that would be good.
Right?
Okay.
Seems like a hard thing to do.
Aren't there already do not block intersection signage on,
They've finally gotten it up, yeah.
I think I remember there was some discussion of how there was one, but not, there needed to be more or something.
Right. Yeah, from
So
both
maybe that's
sides.
what this is suggesting. The speed limit sign's gonna be, I'm sure, well observed. All right, anything else on that point? Anybody have anything they wanna mention? We could go on to the minutes. Everybody get a chance to take a look at these beforehand? I'm guessing that Jeff probably did and has a lot of notes. Just kidding, Jeff. Just
Nothing's wrong with you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 5th, 2022.
Motion's been made. Anybody have a second on that motion? Does anyone? Second. We have a motion and a second. I guess all in favor of approving the minutes of the December 5th TPZ Commission, say aye.
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 Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay. That one passes. So we've approved September 5th.
And I will make a motion to approve, there was one prior to that at least one that I skipped over.
September 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 6, 2022.
Okay, motion's been made to approve the minutes for September 6th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second, and any discussion? That was what I skipped over before. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'm abstaining. I wasn't there.
Okay. Ken is abstaining.
All right. Next would be, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 3, 2023.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes January 3rd, 2023. Do I have a second? I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Anybody opposed? Okay.
And I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 6, 2023.
We have a motion for approving the minutes of February 6, 2023, and any second? I will second. Any discussion? Paul Garcia. Okay. We're moving kind of quick, so somebody stop me if they have anything.
No.
Okay,
No,
all in
it's
favor,
okay. It's
say
okay.
aye.
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 Abstentions?
I'll abstain, I was not here.
All right, Commissioner Skolnick is abstaining. And the last one is, that we have in this pile here is the minutes of March 6, 2023.
And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on March 6, 2023.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Okay, then I will take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Two abstentions, Aaron Huffman and Shadi Michelle. Okay, I think those are the minutes. Get them through due consideration. Hopefully that works, right? All right, any other business in this packet? I see there's some other things that was in the packet that you left
And
us, like
those
there's
are just for the hearing that you're gonna have next month
next month, okay.
on 110.
There's, yeah, okay. Very well.
And he had initially asked if you guys could drive by, so, you know, if before your May meeting, you wanna just take a drive-by just to see the area.
The applicant's asking for that?
Yeah.
Understood, sure. You know.
Okay, and that's in advance of the May meeting, understood. Okay, our other exciting business is to continue a review of the proposed revised regulations. We're primarily reviewing them, we're continuing to review them. We started reviewing them for clarity. There was a draft put together by our consultant, and we've begun the process of reviewing them. And we were pretty much going section by section, trying to do the best we can towards keeping things clear and removing anything that's an unnecessary reference or confusing reference. Question is, what page did we?
I think you're on what's 18 in the commented one. Which maybe
18 in the non-commented one.
No, it's page, if you're in the one with the comments, it's page 20.
Chris, what definition definitions are on the page you're looking at?
It starts with lot area.
It's this page. Thank you.
Where's that stuff? Oh, I see, okay. That area. And I know that I kind of like to have them both open, both the draft reorganized one and also the other one, which is the one with the comments in it, which was circulated by email in our, sometime in March. Well, okay. All right, let's just, I guess let's just go. Do you know where we are? Do you find it? Yes. Okay. Yeah, what is that called? Parametric draft B with comments? Anyway, sorry, I was looking for a document, but anybody have any comments on this page? Let's see, starting with lot area, total area.
So in lot area, he does question whether or not it should cross-reference to the minimum lot size, and what that is in the one with the notes, it's on page 116. And this is where all new lots proposed in the Resident A district, they're excluding certain things to create the buildable area and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to insert that or not there. It's from the table in 4.1, it references to footnote 1.
It's also, there's also references on page 18 of definition of lot minimum size. Is that, I thought that's what you said.
Right, so what he wants to refer to is that.
Sorry.
So, Chris, would you mind repeating?
Okay, so
He's,
he's referencing to the minimum lot size. And so in footnote 1 of section 4, referring to the table at the beginning of section 4, it talks about what the the lot area has to consist of to meet those requirements. So it excludes certain things. It requires that in the those residential A area where there's a public water, it's on a public water supply watershed, that it's a 2-acre lot, that the area has to be contiguous and not undivided by wetland soils or water courses, slopes over 25%, that kind of thing.
Well, I think that makes sense to cross-reference
So
it.
we'll just reference to that.
Okay. All right, continuing, moving on. Are we at lot corner? Anybody see anything here? Graphic could be better. Didn't we talk about this, that we were thinking of getting updated?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on getting you an updated graphic
Okay.
for that page.
Okay. All right, interior lot, lot minimum size, shape, and frontage also.
Well, aren't we at lot frontage?
Oh,
I thought we were done. I thought we were 2 pages on page 20.
totally. Yes, silly me. Lot frontage, inconsistent with the definition of frontage. Need a TPZ decision to measure frontage on outside.
Who's questioning that?
Anybody have any thoughts on that? Anyone? Not consistent with the definition of frontage, so go back to the definition of frontage.
Side of a lot abutting a street,
Street.
the front lot line.
So do we want to make these two definitions consistent? I assume we already made a correction
On,
on the definition of frontage.
under frontage, we dropped primary and secondary,
Right,
and so we just left it the side of a lot abutting a street. And it just, I guess you could just say reference to definition of frontage. I don't even know why you need lot frontage.
Yeah.
maybe we could eliminate it altogether?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like we have consensus on that.
Less is more.
Okay, infill lot is used once. Well, infill lot's used once, then we should probably, if it's used at least once,
Think
Yeah.
you better.
See that?
line front. What's wrong with lot line? Okay, that's gonna get changed, right? That's gonna get changed when we get the updated graphics.
There is a typo in lot line rear.
If you could correct, awesome.
He corrected it in the,
That's great, yeah. Sort of, what do you call those, things, hidden things and, delightful things in these. Okay, create new graphic to merge us with figure 2.1, okay, yeah, presumably that will happen, we may have to, this lot line side graphic, maybe when we get the new graphic for the figure 2.1, that will eliminate the need for this graphic altogether?
Possibly.
Possibly.
We'll take a look, see, and I'll try to have that for you for May.
Now, who's doing the new graphics for this?
I'm gonna see if I can find some that makes sense,
Okay.
because I'm sure somebody else has already invented the wheel.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to low impact development, more description than definition.
So what's the difference between a description and a definition? It looks okay for now. It would take us a long time to rephrase that.
I agree.
Yep.
He does have here a few times on this page, if I may say so, just as general comment, he has where he writes all the time regulation and the definition. So point taken. But are the regulations elsewhere in the regs, Chris? And so in other words, if we,
You have to look.
okay, so I wouldn't take any of that out without knowing if it was someplace else.
Yeah.
You've done this in earlier definitions that you've looked at, where we've taken the regulatory part and inserted it in the appropriate section and left just the definition thing.
Understood, but like I wouldn't want to alter anything at this point without confirming for sure.
But you've
that-
been doing that. You've already done
In
that on
some
some
parts.
other definitions that you looked at.
Right.
So you should continue to do that.
Okay. So we're pulling it out and putting it somewhere else, as we've done,
Yeah.
okay.
Though I think there were a couple in that longer work session where we left, couldn't find an appropriate place. And I thought
Yeah.
there was at least one where we just left it.
Yeah, I mean, I've already changed that in here.
Okay.
Bless you.
Yeah, I mean, just from manufacturing, the definition section of manufacturing has more, seems to have more words than the,
Regulation itself.
yeah, you could,
I don't think we need to include heavy and light, right?
I think you reference it in your in sections.
unless there are zones where only heavy is allowed.
So you gotta look in table 3.2.
Woodbridge could use some more, like, oil refineries or.
And so
That's right.
in section 3.2.
Car manufacturing.
You have light manufacturing and heavy manufacturing, and it references to 3.3 V3. And all it does so if you want, what you could do, because under light manufacturing, it says see table 3.1, where it tells you to look at V. So it's kind of,
We just take the definition.
so I can just take the definitions of light and heavy and toss them into V and use it there. Okay? That done?
Yeah.
And so we'll just leave the definition of manufacturing to be the manufacturing part
Gotcha.
and get rid of these.
As for motel, I mean, I would be inclined to take that suggestion that we could eliminate that regulation part in a motel.
Yeah. I can play around, I'll see where it goes. So I'll just say move to motel section. We used to have a motel, we don't anymore.
Or was it?
It was where Grimaldi's is, it was DeAndrea's, with a big sign that said eat. And there was a motel there too.
Grimaldi's ain't there anymore.
I was gonna say, maybe
No,
we
no,
should
no.
get, maybe we
Bring
can
a
get a
motel back.
motel back.
we have another word that was corrected already.
Right. Only use the definition of non-conforming use. I'm okay with that. Nursing home.
Actually, we're just going to a death spiral.
Can that be pulled into the?
Which one?
Just trying to find something.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that in.
That's too much of it. You could force quit, but
We're trying to force correct.
maybe alt tab out of Acrobat, and then when you're in like Finder, you know what I mean? If you command tab, press command and then tab.
Command tab.
Yeah, to switch out of that window. Command, command and then tab, these two.
Next tab.
Yeah, so switch to a different window, and then when you're in a different window, then you can just switch to any one of the other windows you have open, programs you have open.
Oh, maybe.
So, on
Okay.
the next page, do you want me to pull all those parts out? That should go with that section?
Put them in
Just-
a,
And just
you-
make it simple for you?
move them to the regulations, sure,
Okay.
sounds good by me,
Well, I'll make you go through.
Sounds
that.
good.
yeah.
I do have that written, but.
Okay, we're on, this is page 23-ish, rear alley,
Yes.
term not really used. Term not really used in general?
This is all that, this is language from form-based zoning,
Right.
and so,
Do you have anywhere that could possibly be construed as a rear-based alley in English?
not that I know of.
I say get rid of it.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanna get rid of rear lane in the graphic too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
There won't be any of these situations in the Bradley development, is there?
In the which one?
The old, the over 55.
The new one?
Whatever's going into Bradley Road.
On Toll Brothers, no, they have roads,
They don't
private
have-
roads.
They don't have any rear alleys. They just have interior roads, as we recently. Okay, and then we're on to restaurant, an adequate kitchen.
Some are inadequate, but it depends where you go.
To show levels.
So it should just be a kitchen,
Do you have a disclaimer on that?
Yeah.
and we'll leave it to
It says our kitchen's
QVHD to make
small.
sure that it's adequate
It'll
and
take a long
clean.
time for you to get your food.
Oh, it does say
Puts
that?
it directly on the menu.
It seems to be like an objection to the
Yeah,
term.
if you
adequate.
say adequate, then you have to define what
Yeah.
Adequate
adequate
is.
is, so just get rid of adequate and
Yeah.
Yeah.
a kitchen.
Okay, cafeteria style, I don't have a problem with that, whatever. Tip and style. Okay, under roads. Term not used, accepted and approved.
What term
Well,
is not
roads-
used?
Yeah,
Term accepted road and approved
Accepted
road
road.
apparently is not used.
so just get rid of it?
If it's not used, yeah.
Nope.
Page 24 if you're following at home.
Also, road line is not used, nor is rumor or border. Not used in our regs, okay.
So we're getting rid of anything not used, right?
Yep.
Rooming house or boarding house. Yeah. Hmm. Are you looking up something about rooming house or boarding house?
Yeah, I don't even know.
I see it in the foot candle standards table. The term rooming or boarding house appears under lodging, but
Well, that was something again that came from form-based zoning, so it may have had stuff in it that didn't apply to stuff that we should have.
I mean, we could probably get rid of it unless,
I'm not,
is there a
yeah,
reason?
I mean, in lodging, we talk about online hospitality, we talk about bed and breakfasts, we talk about inns and motels, and that's there.
What is online hospitality?
And
I shut down.
it's not allowed
Sorry, can
anywhere,
I?
but we list it and don't let it be anywhere.
Oh, no, you
You-
should, yeah,
you
I
already
did
did
this,
this.
yeah,
If you open the search and see that
And then
listing there.
you reopened it and it automatically started
I
doing it again.
know that
No,
people,
it
but
didn't
nobody's ever complained
automatically
about them, so I
until I-
don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you could shut some of these other
There's
programs.
a year's up on
Yeah.
remedy.
If you're not using them, maybe that'll help.
So we don't have rooming houses or boarding houses.
We don't.
Right, but the definition is here in case we ever wanted to have one, or
Well,
6 people living in a house, that could be a boarding house, right?
It's an unrun.
well,
if there
what
is-
our definition of family is 4 unrelated persons, I believe,
We changed that.
or whatever it may be. Yeah,
It doesn't say
it's a
anything
group
about-
of not more than 4 persons who are not so related. So you don't really need boarding house because you've already got a definition of family, so your choice, you do what you want to do.
This is weird too, because if 15 people are housed in a building, it's considered a hotel or motel, but it doesn't say anything about rent. You can just have, you know, big family,
Yeah.
But if it's a family, you can all live together.
but it's a hotel if there's 15 people. It doesn't say anything about,
Seems like an
Ah,
archaic
well.
definition.
Maybe it isn't.
So I don't think we need it then.
yeah, I agree.
So we're getting rid of rooming house.
Screener screening. Regulation and definition, can we move that?
Um, Screening shows up in different sections. So it shows up, for instance, in outside storage.
Although we can leave it here,
I would just leave it here.
alright.
Yeah.
The graphic and setback.
I don't like that graphic either.
I truly don't need the graphic.
Alright, maybe we should get rid of that.
I mean, I explain it to people and so we'll get rid of C definition and graphic below.
Previous table. Shop front facade.
This is again a form-based zoning definition of clothing.
Please, the clear price.
It sounds like it's required in a number of different places, so.
Well, in the active adult community, there, which didn't get approved, it was initially approved with retail in front,
Yeah.
and then what ended up getting approved has no retail.
So in the event that a new active adult
So in
community is
the event that a new active
proposed.
adult came in that decided it wanted retail, then I guess you would refer to that.
but it's also just other, is that second comment saying it's required? Zoning Dev 1, BI, GB, and GBA.
It's 4.1G2, and it says, unless otherwise approved by the commission, the following special requirement shall apply regarding a shop front facade. And so then
20% of the
it
first
does,
floor.
it says exactly what's here, so I don't know that you need to define it since it's in that section.
And it seems that,
Although it's interesting because he says on that page that it's a definition within a regulation. So I don't know what you do.
Maybe we leave it as is. and-
Yeah, I think you can just, it's
don't
not
need a
gonna
graphic.
take up a lot of space, so just leave it.
Exception is a regulation.
Now I gotta go to section 4. This is
seems like
flag.
sign comes up enough in your work
Yeah, I do a lot of signs.
that, isn't it okay to have an exception as, you know, to further people's understanding of what the definition of a sign is? I don't really have a problem with an exception being there. I mean, maybe it doesn't like the wording.
So it's saying a flag or insignia of any government. So those don't constitute a sign.
Yeah.
And window displays lasting no more than 30 days.
I don't mind
So
if
what I
it's
can
there,
do
you
is I
move
can
it.
just throw those into section 4, where it's more likely that somebody would see it, like me.
That's fine.
So, and I'll move to section 4. Okay.
Sure.
Mm.
Some direction, so.
So it says it in the sign regulations, it tells you what a directional sign size is. So a directional sign can just say a sign indicating the direction or route to an establishment, if you want. That makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, is it required that somewhere we have to say that it's not over 2 square feet? Is that?
It's already in the
Oh,
sign
so, oh,
section.
right,
so-
gotcha. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen that word before.
Oh, Terry would be distraught if we took out sign Ilimasonary.
How did you pronounce it there?
Ilimasonary.
El Masonry. That's like a
loved-
sandwich board sign, right? Like if there's a school flyer or something?
No, it's a sign allowing the public to talk to itself. So it's the signs for like the strawberry,
Like the play. Like it's
yeah, the
like
play and all
sandwich
those
board
other
signs,
things. And we used to require that they had to register them, and now we just tell them, no, if you can pronounce it, you can put it up 2 weeks in advance and have it down within 48 hours.
So the term is not otherwise described or anywhere else in our reg.
So,
We could just keep it just because it's
yeah, I
cool.
would keep it in honor of Terry.
All right.
I've never heard that word before.
Yeah,
I think I've heard that word, but it's,
He loved putting that in there. He
maybe that's
truly
good.
did. And he loved having people mispronounce it.
All right, we can keep it for now then.
little footnote honor, in honor of.
Of Terry, yeah. And everybody now will say, who's Terry?
I know.
Remember his, he had a very particular mustache.
He did.
Did indeed.
And
And very special hats. And in the summer, he wore Hawaiian shirts.
a sign illuminated with lights so shielded that no direct rays therefrom are visible elsewhere than on the lot where said illumination occurs.
Oh, I could talk about this.
Wow, okay, directly and indirectly illuminated. I don't know. I mean, you have enough with signs that, I don't know.
I'll
Thoughts on
check-
that one?
You know, I'll check to see if it's already in there, in the sign section.
Sure.
Okay.
How do you feel about sign area?
I don't think we need to define it. In the sign section, it tells you what sign, so we can just get rid of that.
Get rid of that, okay. Greater than 25%.
I would just leave slope alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that just gives you context to the further definition.
No problem with stoop.
Agreed.
That's what I'm looking at.
It's used once, so I would keep
So
it.
you just want to leave it alone? Okay.
Are you looking it up?
No,
at 4.1
don't worry about it. We'll
point
just leave it in there. It's a tiny sentence. It's not going to make or break a page in the regs.
Substantial modification. Term that is not used. FEMA uses substantial improvement, and that term is used 20 more times in these regulations. 60, 6K, exceeds 60%. Okay, so do we want to take that suggestion to call it substantial improvement instead of
Well,
substantial
if it's, I don't know if it's used, where it's used. I think there's more than one section that it's used. I'm just looking to see what.
He's claiming it's not used.
I thought he was saying it was used 21 times and, modification is not used, but improvement is used.
Right.
Right.
So it seems to.
Does it make a difference if we use the word improvement versus modification?
So,
Where's
I think we should use the word that is found in the regulations.
but there is a definition in the flood section of substantial improvement. And it does talk about the 50%.
This says 60%.
No, and he notes that the 50 is not.
We already,
So
we already defined substantial improvement?
we have a definition of FEMA's
177.
definition in the flood hazard section of the regs. I'm not sure if it's used only there in the FEMA section.
So is there a difference between the two definitions?
The definition in the FEMA section is a little bit
Well,
longer and it does refer.
the modification doesn't necessarily imply improvement.
Right, but it,
So improvement would be a subset of modification, but
It would.
Mm-hmm.
modification would
It
cover.
would be a positive modification.
Right.
But if you just say modification, it would cover any kind of
Sure.
activity which would.
The change.
so substantial improvement is like twice the length of the definition that you've got under substantial modification.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to parse it and say, see, I just don't know if it's just used in the FEMA stuff.
I mean,
So I'll make a note, we'll double check to see if it's used anywhere else, and if it's not used anywhere else, we'll just leave the definition in the FEMA section and get rid of this definition.
I think that makes sense.
yes, agreed. I think we should leave transit-oriented development alone. Unless it somehow differs from the accepted definition, I don't think it does. But,
I don't think it does either.
Woodbridge Village District,
Does the, I don't know what the zoning map, does the zoning map define the Woodbridge Village
Yes.
District?
Well, map doesn't have it. So in table 1.1 zones and boundaries, which would remain, that's where it defines what the Woodbridge Village District is. And it says it's an overlay zone, so, I don't know that we need to have it. It's already in the zones and boundaries definition. I think we stated we were getting rid of boundaries and saying just zone definitions, because that's all that's on that page. I would recommend we just do it.
okay. Everybody else okay with that?
So we're getting rid of the entire definition?
In the definition section, because it's
In
in
the
the
zones.
zone definition page. There's a page that just describes what each zone is. Because we don't talk about residential A or TC3 or any of those.
Right. Right. Here we're back at the definitions of yard, parts of the yard. As distinguished from lot, right? Where we were before, was lot. Setback, okay.
Which is comment.
Oh, sorry. Measurement protocols are not consistent. Benefit from a graphic.
Is this something, it seems like this would be,
This
The-
is kind of in that graphic that I have to look.
yeah, the setback. This is
Yeah.
fit, I would define the yard as the area between the street and the building, the area created by the required front setback, the area created
Yeah.
by the,
Yeah, it's the
Required.
side yards, there's also side yards, it's not just for principal buildings, there's also side yards for accessory structures, but, just-
how do you measure?
Well, anything within a lot that's not otherwise covered by the footprint of a structure is yard, isn't it?
yeah, so we define a setback as the distance between the building and any lot line, so I don't think we need side, front, or we can have the graphics.
Yeah. Must- yeah.
And it's in the table, so it tells you what it is in the table.
Okay.
From which we historically measured it from the first projection overhead, not from the.
Yeah.
So we haven't followed our own
So
definitions
can
here.
we just get rid of these three?
Sure.
Go for it?
Sounds good?
Sure.
Sounds good. Okay, note to TPZ, regulations must be more user-friendly, if changed organization, section 3 would be residential uses and bulk standards, section 4 would be non-residential uses and bulk standards. How do you feel about that suggestion?
I guess we can always ask him how we would do that. Even though we paid him, I don't think he'd mind answering the question, so I'll ask.
It seems like a lot of drafting work to change the
I don't,
numbers
yeah,
for
I
everything.
mean, it's, yeah.
I wonder if he's saying that just because it'll be easier for the residents to find things about residential use.
And what they call me, so.
That's true, they do call you, but, there's something to be said for someone being
It's
able
nice for
to
them to be able to look it up.
figure it out, right? Okay, well, good comment. Land uses, section 3. Can consider merging all the paragraphs in this page into one section.
Why?
Following uses are permitted in certain zones.
Some I think would be helpful if Glenn was actually here, just going through these changes with us, because at times I'm not sure what he's talking about.
This is,
Well, in this page, he's just telling you get rid of 3.1, 3.2, and just have them consecutive paragraphs.
I actually agree with that, just judging by reading the text.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But then, as soon as you get into this chart, transect districts.
Are we still talking about whether or not we get rid of 3.1 or 3.2?
I mean, unless someone has a pretty strong objection to it, I think all those paragraphs could be one section. And then table 3.1 then starts and tells you what uses are allowed by zone.
So do you want to title, so section, so the big title, the 3.0, says land uses. Do you want to start this paragraph is, or this page is 3.1? Or do you just want to leave it as 3.0 and then go straight into your table 3.1?
Seems like we just go right into the table, we don't even need to,
So just have no numbering here, this is just 3.0.
yeah.
Is the table on, to me it's page 27, is that a separate table versus table 1.1? So it's a legend, but is it considered a
That's
separate?
not part of the table. No.
So should it have its own reference? Did we,
Table,
It's just the legend for
the legend, it's the legend for the table.
yeah,
So does it need its own reference? I don't know.
I
that it
don't know, that's what I'm
does.
asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure it does.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. We've got the title legend, zone district legend and approval type legend. And then we've got the table. He's got a comment under cemetery, except where the principal activity is one customarily carried on as a business. Sorry, civic clubs.
what is that comment?
There's that comment.
It's highlighted on the next page
Mhm.
as well. It's
Where's the comment?
just the other side of the table.
Maybe. What's he saying? What's he telling
I
us?
think he's trying to,
What's the message?
I don't know, because we have,
It's repetitive?
well, we have clubs, like the Woodbridge Club. Which I think nonprofit. That's not a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So this is specifically saying nonprofit.
Yeah.
So I don't know, do we have a place where we say clubs?
That's a good question. Isn't it just a
Talk about golf courses.
adult establishments? See, I was confused. Okay.
I mean, I don't know that we need the word. Okay, so let's look and see what uses will allow them.
Customarily carried on as a business. I don't even know what that means.
Well,
Is that
what's
true?
strange is that the only place that we're allowing those things to happen is in Dev 2, and in Dev 2,
This is like the Goodwill store. It's a nonprofit, but it's,
we're only allowing these things in Dev 2, and in Dev 2, you have places that are recreational oriented, like the indoor soccer and the tennis club.
And most all civic clubs or associations with which I'm familiar in this community don't have a fixed Place.
You know, like the,
Rotary or,
Rotary,
yeah.
yeah. So, and we do address,
what are we saying, this is the, is the,
so recreation and fitness, commercial, we define it as commercial, is allowed in GB and Dev 2, which makes sense, because GB has the bowling alley, and Dev 2, as I mentioned, has the tennis court and the soccer places.
what is the liquor club zone does?
Further than grade.
Were all these assignments in the table carried over from prior regulations?
Pretty much. I don't know how the Woodbridge Club, well, you have the golf course, which is also listed separately. And that can be by special exception in residential A. So there really isn't any, hypothetically, the Woodbridge Country Club doesn't fall into any of these things. So, same concepts. I don't know which one, I don't know.
We should move on.
I don't know that you even need, do you need civic clubs, lodges, or associations, nonprofit?
Considering that those are
well, they're not allowed anywhere according to
Seems
this
weird to
chart.
restrict
They're
them
only
to that.
no,
Dev
they're
2.
allowed in Dev 2.
By
From
special
page
exception.
33 of the annotated things,
by special exception, yeah.
by special exception, but I don't know that you need to say non-profit. I mean, would you need to include it by special exception in A? Because that is what the, you know, if we got rid of the nonprofit and we put special exception in A, which is where the, Woodbridge Country Club, the little one down the
Swim
line,
club.
yeah.
Pool club, yeah.
And just say civic clubs, lodges, or associations, I don't know, I don't know that that's an association as much as it's a country club, I don't know. Because otherwise we don't have it. not like we have a Grange or an Elks Club or something like that.
Where is Dev two?
Dev 2 is the eastern side of the West River. So it's at the base of West Rock from the West River to West Rock.
Where the like tennis,
Where the tennis
places,
places
and the soccer is.
The fields are.
Where the fields are. But there aren't any civic whatever's there either.
I suppose there could be.
Well, there could be.
I was wondering, we could use it in some sense.
Oh, yeah.
So is the question more of where do we wanna allow these things to pop up?
Mhm.
Well, and I guess the other part of the question is it limited to nonprofit or?
Take nonprofit out of that. But thinking down the road, where else would we want to allow these types of things to go?
I mean, realistically, the only place that you have more space is in A. Because personally, I think you need to leave Dev 1 as business.
Is Dev
One
one,
is commercial.
is Dev one the industrial area that's down near Dev two?
Yeah,
Or like
Dev
the
1
animal?
is where Toll is.
And the animal shelter is at Dev two?
That's Dev 2.
So Dev one is all of like the Riley Road area? Dev one?
Dev 1 is between Amity and Richmond. And you have a thin strip of residential.
And
And then you go over to Dev 2.
how far up the, again, you guys go?
It goes up to, the professional buildings on the left side of, and then across, and then there's a tier of residential that comes off the south side of Lawrence. That Dev 1 goes back, there's some big parcels in there. So, I don't know, if you think this is beyond what you want to consider right now, or if you just want to leave it be and.
I would leave it for now. I would leave it for now.
Yeah, I mean, except for the fact that obviously we don't actually restrict the I guess that would be like the physical placement of a lodge, club, or association anywhere. We don't.
We don't have, so the way the regulations read, if we don't permit it, then it's prohibited.
Right. It's prohibited to like physically establish a building
A
if that's
building,
like an
but
Elks
you
Club or
can,
whatever.
You know,
Right.
space.
Right. Okay. Seems, yeah.
So if we don't do certain things now, it's taking us a long time just to get through this. When are we gonna come back and reassess what we want? Because the questions that really matter are the questions of what do we want for Woodbridge, right? And those are all getting kicked down the road. So when are we gonna get back to that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, to your point, it seems like we wouldn't
Right,
want to
right.
restrict things like civic clubs, lodges, or associations from being anywhere. I mean, I don't know what the genesis of having only being permitted by special exception in Dev 2, but
Seems like you could have a special exception anywhere for, if
Right.
you wanna come before us,
and say,
consider it.
Right.
in any of the
Right.
districts.
I mean, yeah,
Such an edge case that,
I want to turn my house into like a Cub Scout lodge, and I come before the
yeah,
board, like that, the likelihood of something like that happening is very small, but the likelihood of somebody wanting to take some, empty commercial property in one of the sections down and say, I want this to be the new Elks Club, or I'm starting a new whatever club. And then we say, well, I'm just thinking this through in my head, right? Like something like that. I mean, like you said, it's not in Dev 2, so we can't even consider it at this point,
well, we
right?
could, right, can't we?
No,
No.
it's only allowed by special exception. It's not allowed anywhere else.
We're not, there's no no provision for some sort of variance beyond our zoning regulations?
They would,
It would be
someone
variance
would
that
need
they
a
have to go to
variance.
the zoning board of appeals for, and the zoning board of appeals would say, it's provided in a section, you can go there.
So I know we
Can't
just
find
have,
a piece of property there, well,
Yeah.
you have to wait for one to open up.
Yeah.
I think we should have special exceptions in different areas, and it would be up to us to decide if we want to put something there. I mean, what about like a nonprofit organization, if they wanted to convert a building and run a
To a
nonprofit?
club, a lodge, or an association.
Well, then,
So what-
is that where a nonprofit organization would fit under? Because
That's-
I'm saying,
well, no, that's what this says, civic clubs, lodges, or associations, nonprofit.
I don't think it would apply to a nonprofit that had an office.
right, that's what I mean.
I don't think this section. is-
No, it doesn't.
No, that's an office.
Right, so that was my, all right, maybe that's somewhere else as to where a nonprofit organization would be able to,
I mean, we have nonprofits that have offices in Dev 1 and Dev 2.
okay, so I think definitely at least in Dev 2.
I mean, I think what we're talking about here is if you talk about a club having a big gathering, and, you know, do you want it in a residential section where people are gonna have to put up with, you know, it being rented out for weddings or
Mhm.
whatever, and a lot of noise and all that other stuff for weddings or
Mhm.
whatever, and a lot of noise and all that other stuff, how does it impact that residential section, which is
Yeah.
why it may be more designated to a commercial area.
I mean, by that logic, I don't know, do we just leave it alone?
I think you can leave it alone, and if you wanna do anything, I would just get rid of the nonprofit and let it be any kind of civic club, lodge, or association. I think most of them are nonprofits.
Fine with that.
So is that gonna be our approach for this table, for all the items in this table? 'Cause I had tons of questions as to why things are or are not allowed in various sections of this table. Is that something we don't wanna go through now?
Not now. What we're trying to do now is just clean these up to make them smoother, take out mistakes, corrections, make them a little bit easier to read and look at per previous discussions. But for sure, as a commission, you know, it's our job to revise these regulations and update them and so forth. But for now, we're just trying to revise the regs. It's sort of a clerical kind of way.
As long
Well-
as we have a plan to get back to it, that's all.
I mean, that said, if you got some burning questions, I'm not opposed to it, you know,
I'll wait.
because I
didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but I
no,
mean,
I-
that's just like the overarching thing, right? Yoni, I mean, that's what we're doing.
It is, but if there's something that
Yeah.
you see that's glaring, I would think we should, you know,
Actually, when it comes to housing, there's some glaring issues that I am going to bring up, so I think if you have something to bring up, you should bring it
I'm gonna
up.
hold off for tonight.
Okay.
I guess the difference would be policy changes versus how it looks or a presentation or mistake, you know, but what you're saying, for sure, we have the town need to look at the policy side of it.
Yeah.
But that was,
yeah, I mean, we can amend our regulations really at any time as long as we go through the process, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
the
Yeah.
question is,
yeah.
you know, yeah, what are we doing here? While we're going through this sort of the way we are, it doesn't seem like a bad idea if there are some things that are glaring and sticking out that we should go there. But, you know, I'm not gonna twist your arm.
I'm good, thank you.
All right. I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling and seeing like the next highlighted thing, but where are folks at? Like, it's on page 36 of the
So,
links that have
when he's
the.
saying natural resources,
Mm-hmm.
it's already listed under excavation and fill, and quite honestly, people just talk about it as excavation and fill, not natural resources.
So you're saying that needs to be.
So,
That could be
saying
removed.
natural resources doesn't need to be listed. You can just leave it as
Yeah.
excavation and fill, because it refers to the same section.
Sure. Agreed. So it can be removed. It's redundant. It sounds like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the word.
Next thing highlighted is near motor vehicle uses. making some comment about that table 3.3.yk. It's funny, there are two places where 3.3.3.yk is referenced, but I don't see the actual table 3.3.yk. There's commercial vehicle storage. And then,
There is no YK, there's a 3 point, there's a 3.2K,
yeah.
which only says all servicing of vehicles shall be conducted indoors on an impervious surface. And I don't know why that's being referenced under 3.3 YK, because that's nothing.
Where is 3.3 YK?
It's referenced in the table for commercial vehicle storage.
Which is on what
It's the
page?
outside storage.
I don't see the table.
It's under motor vehicle uses.
What's your page, Chris, on that?
In the part that's got comments, it's on 36 and 37.
Yeah, this table's referenced, but
There isn't a YK.
yeah, there
Oh.
isn't a YK.
So maybe it's a typo or something.
Yeah.
All I see is table 3.1.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are different sections which talk about storage in there, so it could just be 3.3Y. Get rid of the K and then you can just refer to the whole.
And that's, is that even?
There's Y.1, Y.2, and then YK. Sorry.
Um,
I don't know.
So, on the next page, where it's talking about 3.3DE, under residential affordable housing, that refers to the affordable housing district,
I thought we,
which has never been used.
Right, and I brought that up, that's probably a section that should be gone away with, because
There's
there's,
other ways of addressing housing.
right, through the opportunity housing, then I have to say there's some parts of that section when it talks about, administration of the, tracking the housing, and they differ, like, in once, when you look at the opportunity housing, I think it says like the commission is responsible, where when you look at the affordable housing district, it talks about how the developer has to identify an agency. So we might want to like pick the best out of that, because I don't think the commission is going to be doing that type of work. We'd have to go,
An affordable housing district, and it was actually pointed out, I think, under the Orchard Road application, that it wasn't a functional section.
no, it's not functional, though there's some definition, I mean, there's some of the
So
definitions
when
are
we get
consistent.
to the last part, it's 3.4, which is housing, opportunity housing.
Right.
So we can make a note in here, colon, we wanna get, for now, get rid of the affordable housing, and then when we get to 3.4, which is opportunity housing, insert what's necessary.
Yeah, you might want to pull in some of the, because I think
So
the,
I'll just make a general note, so when we get there, we'll know what we should do.
yeah, and I gotta remember what I was thinking at the time.
Does that make sense to everybody? We're gonna delete the residential affordable housing thing. And then we, so then. So is that what you wanna do?
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion,
I agree.
Why would those cells colored yellow, does anyone know?
what's that?
For the residential affordable housing on the table?
Right, that's what we're talking about. That's the affordable housing district that we're taking out, so that section's being taken out.
Was there a specific reason they were colored yellow, or?
Well, I think he wanted to highlight that
Hmm.
you have to do something with it.
Have to have it.
And he was just noting that it's not allowed here anywhere.
But he doesn't make comments when he gets to affordable housing district regulations. He makes comments that things don't make sense, so it's, you know.
Cross-referencing, okay. Residential accessory dwelling units is the next thing I see highlighted here. There's that shop front facades again, before that, but I think we covered that, so. Page 39.
He highlighted the in part because the regulations now allow it in
Standalone.
accessory dwelling, in accessory buildings.
Right.
So we don't need to say in single family home. We can, it's just a permitted use in any of those zones.
So we can collapse that?
We allow it,
Yeah, do we
where
allow?
we allow it is where there is a single-family home. So if you have an existing two-family, you don't get to make an accessory dwelling in it as a third dwelling, because then it will become a multi-family.
Can you say with single-family home?
Yeah. Yeah, we could just say with, and that makes sense.
There's that stubborn shop front facade
Yeah,
again.
there is that shop house.
Farmers market, see agriculture.
And we do. I mean, it's strange that it's listed here, but it's not.
Permitted.
We allow them in residential districts and
By temporary permit.
temporary permit. I know people wanted to have one, like Dep one or something, you know, just where people would set up and do it.
Right, so is the problem that he doesn't like the fact that it's,
No, farmers markets can also be in BI, GB, GBA, so it's allowed, so do we need to have any referenced under retail, since it is referenced under agricultural. But then it's under retail, it's not showing where it's allowed in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why don't we just get rid of it?
Yeah, either we have to show where it's allowed or we get rid of it,
Yeah.
right?
So I would just leave it under agriculture, because that's where most people would think. Unless you think it's, you know, somebody might think of it as a retail thing, and we'll just add it in. Not a hard thing with the SSPPP. Your choice,
Interest of not deterring anybody from setting up a farmer's market, stand, whatever, I would say
you wanna
let's
add
just,
both places?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
take all we can get.
But then shouldn't we reference where it's allowed, or?
Yeah.
That's what
That's
I'm
what she's
doing.
Okay,
Add it
all right.
in.
Mm-hmm. Wind energy storage, wind energy conservation system, towers per Connecticut Siting Council. Oh, I see, wind energy, I don't even know what wind energy conservation system is.
So this is not allowed anywhere, but it's
It's
allowed anywhere. that-
It's allowed anywhere through the siting council, so we have no jurisdiction over it.
Maybe there should be a note, like,
Yeah.
across the norms anyway.
So we can just say governed by Connecticut Siting Council.
Oh, I see, meaning, right, so then we don't need to mention it at all. I mean, has anyone ever in your time here come in and said, I want to put a windmill on top of my house? I would love to, for one, but it's not, I don't think it's really practical at this point.
First in the area, it ain't gonna work. My house would
I would put a tall one, I would put a really tall
Put a
one.
really
It would look
tall one.
ridiculous, but my neighbors would hate me, but I would do it.
My neighborhood cell phone tower thing was big.
be. Well, this is, okay,
Sorry.
so a commercial wind energy conservation
That's also what's that
system
intersection.
is per the Connecticut Siting Council.
I'm sorry, say that
Right, so we don't have it as,
Commercial wind energy.
But I think that, like, across the districts or something, it's not, it's a separate thing where it's kind
Yeah.
of our,
So it's per,
yeah.
and I'll get rid of towers and I'll just say per Connecticut Siting Council.
okay, sure,
And then the same thing with.
for wireless and.
Wireless.
Okay,
So that's finally gonna go in that tower.
what's that?
I think they lost their appeal, I think it's finally gonna.
Oh,
go
they,
in
they
that tower.
lost the appeal? Oh, yeah, okay,
I think
I
so.
was curious about that.
It got dismissed.
That's pretty much it, unless they try to go to the Supreme Court.
They went in there to do it.
No, the town's not hiring a lawyer anymore, I think.
You finished that section.
How far are we going tonight,
You
folks?
wanna finish that section? And I'm gonna leave it there.
Are you okay with leaving it there? Got till 8 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock.
It is,
Yeah, that's a good effort.
Anybody have any further comments they wanna add at this moment? If not, then should I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Normally you have
We have a couple
Andrew give a
reports.
report and.
Oh, right. The scrub and also the housing. Where do you wanna go?
Andrew usually goes first.
I'm not sure I brought it. Hang on, give me a sec. You go ahead because.
Okay, I mean, I can make it quick, because last meeting I talked about how we're planning community conversations. And so we actually held community conversations to meet with different groups and to talk about our efforts as a, housing committee to just listen to people, listen to people's concerns, and just provide whatever information, people would want to hear. The first couple of sessions were facilitated by Ben Fink, who is like the community hired facilitator by the SCROG to engage with these conversations. So we had specific groups, but we let it open to the public. So other people did show up besides the certain groups we were targeting. So it ended up being an interesting, very interesting conversation because it was like people from both sides of the issue were there, and it was great because people got to hear each other. And I think it was a really good learning experience. I'm not sure it's gonna change any minds, but at least, you know, it was a civil conversation, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. And we had another neighborhood community conversation yesterday, and I thought that was great as well, and people are interested and people are willing to, you know, continue the conversation. So that's the whole idea. You start with a small group, and you hope that those group of folks go out and start talking to people. So then finally, everybody, you know, is educated and understands what's going on in the town. So when there is a vote or something that happens, you know, people are at least informed as to what we're doing.
Were you guys talking about something specific at those meetings?
The first two groups were more about talking about people's experiences and you know,
In the town?
their experience with housing in the town. So that kind of brought, like, the idea is you start with that type of conversation because, you know, you could disagree with someone's opinion, but you can't, like, disagree with someone's experience. So you can't fight it. So that was like the whole idea, to just have people talk and have people listen. And I felt it was pretty effective. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the Woodbridge Town News comes out. But, you know, I'm hopeful. And yesterday's session was more just about what we're doing as a housing committee and the work we're doing. It was more of a, you know, a close set neighborhood conversation that we had. So I think people felt that they understood the effort a lot more and understood at least what we're doing as a committee a lot more, and I felt pretty hopeful, you know. So we're going to be continuing that and meeting with some more groups, and at some point, like I said, we're going to bring everybody together and just have like a larger community conversation, where we can have like a charrette and just as a town just figure out how we want to accomplish this goal of creating more housing in Woodbridge. So
Where is it envisioned that meeting will be, like in the town gym or somewhere?
yeah,
like that?
probably, you know, maybe maybe the JCC, because we had a public hearing there, and that was pretty, you know, that worked out well. Or it would have to be a bigger space to have that conversation. But yeah, it could be a gym or a larger space. But you know, I mean, we've had charrettes, I guess, with the plan of conservation development. So I think it would be probably something similar to that.
Sure.
Yeah. And our other activities, we're going to be working on just coordinating better with other committees, because we find that there's other committees kind of working on cross purposes. I know like the Task Force 2030, they're going to be talking about, you know, creating housing in Dev 1, and they have some ideas for zoning, and so we had talked about, you know, changing the zoning in Dev 1. So it's you know, realize that we really have to coordinate what other groups are doing, you know, because we're kind of we're not really cross-pollinating enough. So we want to talk more to other committees, and Economic Development Committee, DEI Committee. You know, we're fortunate that we have somebody from CUPOP, the person who chairs that committee, is on the housing committee, so we're able to work together on that pretty well. But it's clear that we really have to work better with other committees doing some, you know, good work in this area. And it's, you know, we shouldn't be working in separate silos. So,
Thank you.
Anybody has any questions?
Thank you. Report of the scribe.
So there was a meeting on March 9th that I attended. There were 5 action items. among them. Town of Town of Cheshire, petition for a zone tax change with regard to accessory apartments. And then the town of North Haven, a proposed text amendment regarding accessory retail. And the town of Hamden, revising a map. The town of Orange. Text amendment regarding outdoor display and storage. And Guilford update, comprehensive update to zoning regulations, much like what we're doing. There was also a lot of discussion about cannabis regulations, and subsequent to the meeting, a survey sent out as to where every town stood. There might be one other, but we're either one or two that don't have some sort of regulation so far, either a moratorium or forbiddance or a restricted allowance.
And lots of people
Lots of people call about setting up, potentially citing a business here.
So with that,
Exciting.
moving into the shopping center, that, I mean,
Well, that's New Haven.
No, I know, but it's, if they're gonna be the hub, I wonder if other people are gonna wanna locate, either avoid the area, cause that place takes all the business, or try and co-locate in Woodbridge to siphon off some more traffic.
I think there's only a certain number of permits that the state's going to allow. So that's-
They've only issued a limited amount
right.
so far, yeah. I mean, we could just prohibit it. That's the simplest. But we have to do something.
So is this-
Well, we're at the default right now, which is that it's treated as retail, right?
Right?
So is it as simple as taking a vote amongst us?
No, it's a regulation, it has to go in here, it has to be subject to a public hearing, it has to go to SCROG and be determined to be okay.
So we go into that table that we were just talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
or it would just be a brief description somewhere that says
Not allowed.
not allowed.
So we had it.
Anything else from Scrog?
Well, the other thing is that there's gonna be since Eugene left, there's been a lot of turnover, Chris.
Yeah,
So at present, there's a new gentleman, Benjamin
No, Ben Lovejoy.
Lovejoy,
yeah.
who's the director of regional planning, but I got an email about a week ago that there is a woman coming in to be the regional planner.
Right, I
And,
thought that's what Ben was.
you know, Ben is her boss, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they invented new sub offices.
Yeah.
But everybody pales in comparison to Eugene, who used to order the pizza. Nobody else orders pizza. That's it.
Okay.
Can you go back to Guilford? What were they there for again? Guilford?
Guilford is, they're doing a comprehensive update to their zoning regulations. I believe they hired the same consultant, and they're going through section by section, to update their regulations. And
Do we know of a town in the state that has a really strong regulation package together? Like one of these things?
Has a strong regulation. What do you mean?
They're most up to date, you know, they've thought about the issues like affordable housing.
Yeah, I mean, that was, a question I had, like the best practice of,
Yeah.
of zoning regulations. But, you know, I guess each town is different and have.
They're easy to find. I mean,
Yeah.
I've read many of them, and you can just, I read Darien recently. I mean, you can just go look at them.
Drive to a few.
Red
Yeah.
Darians.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you just can go and read them, and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, but I wonder if anybody ever, like, did an assessment, like, you know, this should be the model code for zoning regulations. That would, I think, make our exercise easier in terms of, like, what definitions should be there and not be
Yeah,
there.
I don't know that there is a model at this point. I mean, just within the south central Connecticut region, the population variance is wide. You know, from Bethany to Meriden and Milford, it's a big difference in terms of what's allowed.
Any other business? Anybody have anything? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up from our last discussion when we talked about purpose, you had, you sent out Simsbury as a model, and I had referenced Salisbury, so I just wanted to make sure that that was corrected, because Simsbury had some things in there.
Simsbury or Salisbury?
It's Salisbury was,
It's the one that you wanted.
oh, I wanted,
Simsbury.
you had sent out Simsbury,
No, I know that.
yeah.
But you just said
So,
Simsbury.
right, I just wanted to make sure that that was noted, that, I wanted,
So the stake, not the.
yeah,
the
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Good.
We are adjourned.
Great job.
Thank you very much.